Game Dad, good to have you on. I know that we're trying to get this out like I'm trying to remember, it was like right after the last convention, I believe, for tours, but
Mhm.
we're finally able to do this. Welcome. It for some reason it looks like you're in the middle of a video game store.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Hi. No, this is the main bulk of the collection on either side right here. I find it a lot easier to have all the media shelving than to have an exorbitant amount of bookcases.
That's incredible. I honestly I've never really seen a lot of people have collections set up to where it has those type of wired racks. Like where
hmm
exactly did you get those from?
So the racks and then the slat wall that they're attached to, I got it from a store called Grand and Benedict's. They
Hmm.
are located in what was it, Fremont in California, and I was close enough where I could actually like drive up and pick them up because, as you can imagine, shipping giant heavy pieces of wood isn't exactly cheap. So I was able to save a bit of money that way. But yeah, they have all kinds of stuff for setting up store displays and setting up just like organizational things. They have a
Hmm.
huge warehouse up there.
Oh, I got you. So I'm guessing it's mostly like store display type of wholesale shops, or is it mostly just like anybody can get it, like it's somewhere like IKEA?
It's definitely more like they have a showroom where they show up a lot of the stuff that they have,
Hmm.
and then it's just attached to a giant like manufacturing warehouse where they make it all. So think IKEA, but you don't get trapped in a maze, and they don't have meatballs.
Yeah, I've heard like horror stories of like some people getting lost in those type of places before, but yeah, when and I would assume that like the original layout for your game room was not as big or spread out. What was the original design choice behind the original design compared to this one that you have now?
So the original game room when I was still in California, we had a three-car garage, and
Mhm.
it was like two cars wide, but one of the bays went extra deep. And in that extra deep spot, that's where I put in the arcades, and that's where I had my filming set that you can see back there. And then along one of the walls were all of these game wall racks, so they weren't like on opposite sides or anything. And then I just kind of filled every nook and cranny with collectibles and display boxes and just anything else that I could. And then opposite the wall of all the games was my whole like media setup with TV and everything. And then now this is a completely custom built setup that I did as soon as we moved here to Michigan.
Yeah, that's kind of why I said before is like I was confused if you were trying to open up your own game store or if it was just you're in somebody else's place. But the setup itself, like I know it's not fully finished yet, but it looks really well done. And I believe what was it? Square pegs went into your place before. Yeah, as far as like any additions that you have not put into your collection just yet, or some display pieces that you would want to get up, but it's taken you a little bit longer to finish. What would be like the one thing you would want to actually have up there right now?
So I mean, you can see I've got my Donkey Kong Jr. Arcade sitting right there. I have
Mhm.
a couple more arcade machines that I want to bring down, but they're significantly heavier than that one, so I'm gonna have to hire some moving guys to do that. But before I bring them down, I am actually taking a few of them to Midwest Gaming Classic.
Oh, nice.
That way, I can try and sell off a couple of them that I don't care about as much. But if they don't sell, then they'll just end up down here. So in the back corner right here, I still got some stuff that needs to be put away, but that's where the arcades would go.
Hmm.
And then I have a little bit of shelving that I still got to put up, and then my mechanical room, which is going to be like my DIY shop for all my 3D printers and stuff. That's not done yet because it's still filled with a ton of junk from moving and from when I closed down my business and all that stuff. So just
Oh,
gotta
I gotcha.
move it all out.
So I know that you didn't say the other arcade cabinets, but aside from Donkey Kong Jr., what were the other ones you were thinking about just like getting rid of?
One is a Shinobi cab,
Oh, nice.
and I mean it's a fun game and everything. And if I have to keep it, I'm not going to be upset about it, but I'll still try
Hmm.
and sell it. So I'm going to take that one. I'm going to take another one. It's called Make Tracks. It's kind of like a Pac-Man clone, but with like paintbrushes.
Oh, okay.
And then the big one that I'm taking is the Simpsons. and that's the one where I did the full restoration on that one.
Oh,
So I'm going to take
nice.
that there, and if it sells, awesome. If it doesn't sell, it's going to be down here, and I'm never moving it again.
That's the one that I think a lot of people would be surprised that you would want to get rid of is the Simpsons arcade, because that's one that a lot of people remember going to a pizzeria or a skating rink or at a Chuck E. Cheese, and you would see that right next to the Turtles cabinet. Is it mostly just because there's not a lot of people to play on that, or is it just mostly you've already played through it a bunch of times and it's just time to like move on to something else?
I played through it a bunch, and it was the one where I put the most work into doing the restoration on it. I
Mhm.
mean, it was missing the entire box that houses the control panel. It was super beat up on its on the sides. I had to do like a ton of re-woodworking and did a bunch of like bondo in different areas. I mean, it was a from the ground up complete restoration, and it was a fun process. But if I sell it, then I'll have money to get another one. And I have a couple more that I'm working on that I might finish, but I don't know if I really want to because I've kind of gotten bored of working on those ones and would rather have something new. But then I also have a pinball machine that very slowly have been working on restoring. So
Oh,
that one, that'll
nice.
definitely go in here when it's done.
Now, I don't know if that's one that you have considered doing for like a full YouTube series aside from just doing the one cabinet. Have you thought about doing that for some video content? Because I know that there's a lot of people that are really interested in like the tinkerings of like being able to restore these old cabinets to basically brand new condition. Was that something that you thought about doing for the longest time, or is it just something that you haven't really thought too much on right now?
Yeah, no, I have done that before. Like the Donkey Kong, that was one of the first ones I did a major restoration on,
Mhm.
and that was before I even had a channel. Same thing with my Street Fighter 2 that I have. I have a Champion Edition, and that was my very first one I ever did.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but for the Shinobi, there wasn't really much that was going to be done. I was maybe going to replace the control panel, but it's really hard to find graphics and art pieces for the actual Shinobi cab because it wasn't a very common cab. It's not like super rare or anything. You didn't see it a lot.
Mhm.
And then another one I have, it's just I did a lot and I did a couple of videos on it, but I'm over it and it's huge and takes up a ton of space. And that's a Nicktoons racing cab.
Oh,
So
seriously?
there was that one. I did a bunch of videos on the Time Crisis 3 that I had. And it got to the point where I had replaced the tubes, the TVs in them, like
Mhm.
4 times because they kept blowing and I was tired of doing it. So I ended up selling that to a person that was opening up a pizza place. So I got well beyond what I had invested in it. So that was awesome. And then the pinball machine, I've done a couple of videos on it, but it's been a long time since I did anything. Once I finish up a lot more of like my house projects and stuff like that, then I'll have time to actually dedicate to really diving in, working on it, and getting content for that. But yeah, I'll probably do a video on that one.
Okay, I got you. I didn't even realize that those what is it, the Nicktoons racer cabinets? I didn't know that those were even a thing. Is that based on the video games that are on the consoles, or is it something more like how it was with Mario Kart?
It's its own version. It's
Hmm.
very much like a when you look at I forget what it's called, but yeah, the Mario Kart DX I think is what it is the
Yeah, that's
actual
right.
arcade
Yeah.
one. So it's very much like that. It's based on the IP and it plays just like the IP, but it is just an arcade version. And it was actually the very first one I had that it doesn't run off of an arcade motherboard because most of the ones that I have they're older, so they just run off a motherboard. This one actually runs off of a super old. It's what was it? I don't even think it was an Athlon 64, but it's got an Athlon processor in it, and it's just a super old desktop computer that's powering it in the back.
I had no idea that was even a thing because there's so many cabinets that are out, even like some unreleased arcade boards that you slowly learn about this, even like from on YouTube that I've covered over
Mhm.
things like that too. But yeah, I had no idea that that was even a thing. But it's incredible to see stuff like that get out in the wild. So, how exactly did you come across that particular cabinet? Was it just on a Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, or was it like a local
So
employee that you were meeting up with at the time?
so there was a place near where we lived in California, called the Last Chance Mercantile.
Hmm.
So it was like a store that was attached to the waste management dump. And people could kind of like a Goodwill kind of thing where you could just drop off your stuff.
Oh, yeah, like Habitat
And
for Humanity, I think.
yeah,
Mhm.
and with the Nicktoons, with the Time Crisis, and there was one other one. I forget which one it was, but one other one. I got them all for $50 a piece.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
they just had them sitting there, and there was one time it caused a little bit of a controversy because the place got in trouble for allowing the employees to do it. An old arcade had closed down,
Mhm.
and all of their arcade machines just got dumped at this last chance. I mean, we're talking like original Mario's, Popeyes, Pac-Man, like
Oh, wow.
stuff. It was like a couple hundred grand in old arcades. Like if they were fully restored, it would be worth a fortune. And they were going to sell them all $25 a piece, but they gave all of the employees first dibs, and all the
Mhm.
employees just bought them and resold them for exorbitant amounts of money. But every once in a while, there was like a random arcade machine, and that's how I ended up with those. My wife's cousin, he would always be at that store looking for like thrifting and stuff, and he would like send me a picture. He's like, "Dude, this is $50," and I'm just like, "Stand in front of it and don't let anyone take it. I'm on my way."
I would have honestly done the same thing because it's incredible that some employees would get away with that. And now I know that Goodwill's has had people that have worked at those establishments and they would just like take a lot of the really good items because some of them know like the value and then they will just try to flip it for more profit on there. But aside from just that, like, was there any time that you came across like another arcade cabinet that you felt was a good enough deal that you just decided to pass on? And if so, like, do you regret getting to not buy it at the time?
There haven't been really anywhere it was like, wow, that's an amazing deal. I need to get that.
Mhm.
And then I passed on it. Usually I pretty much have a problem and I just buy it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely other ones I've gotten where it was much more of a cost up front
Mhm.
than like the $50 like last chance fines. Um, but overall, I mean, no, and I don't really go out of my way looking for it. It's like the deals just kind of fall into my lap, basically. Like I'm not on the hunt for them or anything like that. But I mean, who's gonna pass up an arcade machine for $50? I mean,
Yeah,
even
that's
if I
insane.
did nothing to it and just immediately resold it, I could easily make my money back and
Mhm.
probably 10 times that. Even if it didn't work, nothing. Like I could easily just resell it. But it was part of the fun of learning how to do it and learning how to restore them.
So I guess the only other question that I would ask about like some of the arcade stuff, and we could literally go on for as long as possible on that. I know that barcades and like a lot of the like more adult like arcade cabinet I don't know what you call it, like establishments are set up.
Mhm.
If there was like a chance to be able to start doing something like that, and if you were to accumulate enough resources to be able to open up a place or an establishment like that, would that be something that you would consider doing, or is it just too much work for you to handle at the moment?
Would probably consider it. I've opened a lot of businesses over the years, and usually it gets to the point where it's like, okay, I don't have time for this one anymore, and I'll pass it off to somebody else, or I'll just
Mhm.
close it down. But I mean, something like that could be fun. It would not be something that I would go in alone to do it, just because I wouldn't be able to make the time commitment. So I would have to go in with a partner or a group of partners, something like that. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Okay.
It would just have to be something where I would need to see the numbers. I would need to see a business plan, and make my decision based off of that to see if it's something that would actually be worth it. Because, I mean, I have hobbies, but my big thing is I like to make my hobbies make money. So I mean, like with YouTube and video games,
Mhm.
collecting has always been my hobby, and it certainly doesn't pay for itself, but it definitely I'm able to make a dent in that now. And then I've had other hobbies that were very successful businesses, and uh, yeah, I mean it's just it depends on if it will make me money so it can be sustained, or if it's something where it's not only a time sink but a financial sink.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Where this, I guess, yeah, it technically is a hobby. It's an expensive one because there's a lot of items that are just out there that it's really tough to get into it if you're like if you don't have a lot of money, but you can still basically grind out content on the cheap.
Mhm.
And I guess we'll like jump right into that right now.
Okay.
You started off back in like I wouldn't say like early days of YouTube, but mostly like in the earliest sector of like video content creation for retro gaming. When you were starting out making videos for however much you were on like a budget for, what was like the original idea behind the Game Dad show? Or do you actually have kids that made you want to do that, or was it just you had the name Game Dad show for somehow or some reason?
Yeah, I mean, the way it started, I didn't officially start the channel until 2018,
Mhm.
but I've been involved with like retro gaming and collecting and stuff for years before that. Um, but I mean, the way the channel pretty much started was my friends and my wife were kind of sick of me constantly talking about video games to them when that's not really where their interests lie.
Mhm.
And they were just basically like, you like talking about it so much. Why don't you just record yourself and make some videos and put it on YouTube? And I was just kind of like, huh, all right, I can do that. I can talk to people, whatever. And that's kind of how that started. And then um, at that time, let's see, when did I start the channel? Yeah, so my second child had just been born whenever I started the channel. So I was a dad at the time whenever it started, and was just trying to come up with names and stuff like that. And Game Dad stuck, but then when I was going around on like social media and stuff like that, looking at the handles,
Mhm.
there was only like two places that had Game Dad available, but everything had Game Dad Show. And I didn't want to have multiple screen names or anything like that. So the official handle became Game Dad Show, even though I wouldn't say it like it's a show. Like I don't do
Mhm.
podcasts or anything like that on the channel. It's all like just curated content. But yeah, it just, was just kind of like, okay, well, that's the handle that I can have for everything. That's what it's going to be. And then I just like go by Game Dad.
Oh,
And
I
if you
gotcha.
search Game Dad, that's what shows up for my channel and the SEO and stuff. But yeah, already had kids and just went with a name that worked to have uniformity across social media.
I don't know if they were like at the age of it yet to be interested in being a part of it, because I would assume that you've had the idea of like having your kids on maybe to just like play video games or something with you together. Has that come across like back in the day, or like is it like still technically an idea right now? Because I know some channels usually do implement either like their significant other or like their kids, or it's mostly just their friends and other family members involved.
I've had both of my girls on when they were younger. I mean, they're still young, but whenever they were like a lot younger,
Mhm.
I had them as like little cameo things in a couple of videos. I couldn't even tell you what videos they were at this point, but they were on for that. But I mean, as you're aware, there are a lot of weirdos out there. So
Mhm.
I don't really want them on the channel just because I don't want to have to deal with weird people. I'm extremely protective of my kids, and I happen to be a large man who can cause a lot of damage, and I just don't want to do that. Daddy don't want to catch a charge. So yeah, I don't really have them on the channel. I mean, they watch the channel.
Mhm.
They know my logo. They know what it is. And they like watching the videos, and they'll like sit on the stairs and watch me recording videos and stuff. So they're a part of it in that way. They're just not actually on camera. And like for my wife, she doesn't ever want to be on camera. It's kind of become a running joke in some of our videos. I think the closest she became, or she came to being on camera, was my Torg convention video. but she wasn't actually on camera then. It was close, but she wasn't there.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, then I've had like my niece and nephew on the channel before. I've had my little cousins and stuff on there, but for the most part, I don't put kids on the channel unless it happens to be something where I'm like out and about doing like a hunt video or something. Just because there's just weird people out there, and I don't need the kids exposed to that. And plus, I mean, yeah, I talk about video games and stuff on the channel, but my channel is 100% marked as not for kids because if I want to say something controversial or I happen to swear, which I don't really do, but if I happen to swear in a video or something like that, I don't want to get demonetized because that's not kid friendly or advertiser friendly.
Okay, yeah, I was mostly wondering about that because I know some people aren't comfortable with having their own kids involved into their videos.
Mhm.
But I guess to kind of continue or to like finish off from that topic, if they were to get to like a certain age, like let's say 18 or 19, and they happen to be interested in just making video content with you around that age point, is that something you would consider, or is it still not something you would ever consider at all?
Oh, I'd probably be super giddy if my kids actually wanted to be seen with me when they were teenagers.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, once they're 18, I mean, they're a legal adult, whatever.
Hmm.
I'm still gonna, protect them to the end. But if they wanted to at that point, I mean, sure, I would let them be in a video. I don't care. Because, by then I'll have, 50 million subs, all that kind of stuff. But
Yes, and you're currently at 5,000 or however many subs it is. I kind of lost
I
track.
just crossed 8,500.
8,500. That is incredible. And to start that off originally from not having many subs to that, and I know 8,500 is not a lot to some people, but for anyone who like grinds out content for a ridiculous amount of like time frame, even if it's like 5 years, is a
Hmm.
lot of work going into that.
Yeah.
So how does it feel that you're really close to 10,000 subs? Did you think you would ever get to that point, or is it something that you always knew in your heart that you could always accomplish that goal?
So whenever I started the channel, I never dreamed ever that I would even have the sub count that I have right now.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't have millions of subs or anything like that. It's not my full time job. I don't ever expect it to be my full time job. Um, I mean, sure, that'd be kind of cool, but
Mhm.
I don't see the stability in it. But no, I remember when I got my first couple of subs that were outside of my friend group. And I was just
Right,
like,
yeah.
holy crap, an actual random person wanted to hear what I had to say, like enough that they clicked a button. So that was really cool. And then I remember when I crossed 100 and I was like, oh, custom URL. I was so excited. And then like when I first crossed 1,000, and it was like, Jesus, man, I can't believe 1,000 people are even remotely interested in watching. And then I crossed 5,000, and right now I'm on track for around this summer, like in the next 3 months or so, 3, 4 months.
Mhm.
I should be crossing that 10K mark, and it's weird. It's weird to think that there are that many people that are interested enough that they're willing to sub because I'm just a dude talking at the camera. That way, my friends and family don't have to listen to me talk at them.
Yeah, and I think that's the same way with a lot of other content creators is that they don't think of themselves as being able to make videos or just like vlogs, like podcasts or anything like that until there's like a specific audience that really is attracted to that type of style that they present for their audience.
Hmm.
I guess one thing I was going to ask is like you mentioned about getting into video content. What was the one thing that you made that you started to see that people were interested in your videos? Was it pickup videos or was it just mostly like essay pieces or was there something specific that you made that you don't really think of yourself as in that type of category if you
Well, I mean, the whole channel started basically with, uh, and it sounds like cringy and braggy now, but
Mhm.
it was basically just showing off the whole collection. So the initial I don't know, 100 videos on the channel was me doing multi-part series taking a look at literally every single game in the collection,
Hmm.
and doing like a mini review on each one that I had. It would be like a 20-30 second spot for each game, and I would just do a little mini review of all of them. And I think, and like that's what initially grew the channel, and started getting me subs and view count and everything. But I think some of the first videos where I was like, "Holy crap!" Like something actually took off, was tech unboxings, um, and there was one in particular. It was an unboxing that I did of the ROG, the Asus ROG Zephyrus G14 laptop.
Okay.
It was the new laptop that I had gotten, and I was just like, "Yeah, I'm stoked! I got a new laptop, awesome!" And I was like, "Oh, I could do an unboxing of this." And from inception of that idea going into my head to it being edited, published, posted
Hmm.
was a grand total of maybe 10 minutes of time because I just
Wow.
wanted to play with my new laptop. So I recorded a super crappy unboxing video, and I was just like, "Yeah, here, check it out. This thing is cool." Post. And in that video, that was my first video that broke like 20,000 views. I
Oh,
mean, it didn't do it
nice.
overnight, but overnight it got a couple thousand views. And this was at the time where pretty much all of my videos were getting maybe 20 or 30 views. And I was like, "Holy crap, I need to buy things and unbox them." So I have a lot of unboxings on the channel now.
So that's cool that there's like I'm guessing at the time the laptop that you were unboxing was like brand new at that
Mhm.
time, or was it like something previously released?
No, it was brand new.
Okay.
Like at the time that I did the unboxing, people couldn't even order it because it had sold out so fast. And even to this day, that exact laptop is still an absolutely amazing deal.
So like I'm trying to figure out like how much would you say the laptop at the time costed at like that point when you were doing an unboxing? I guess like something close to like $2,000.
No, that's why it was such a good deal. It's a super powerful laptop. Had a Ryzen 9 in it. It was also rocking a, what was it? A 3060, an
Hmm.
RTX 3060 was the GPU that was in it. Um, was it 3060? Maybe it was a 2060. It might have
Okay.
been. I think it was a 2060 Max Q. And it came with 16 gigs of RAM. It was a 14-inch laptop. But that whole package, like, it was an insane gaming laptop, and it was $1,400. And still
See,
to this day,
wow.
it's a $1,400 laptop.
Okay, yeah, I had no idea about like the price point for those because I don't really keep up
Something
with a
like
lot of like modern PCs like that.
So that same laptop, the comparable gaming laptops that you could get
Hmm.
were minimum double the price. You were looking minimum $2,500. That's why this one was just such an amazing deal and an amazing laptop that came out.
Okay, so I guess you mainly used it for just playing games, or did you do like just editing videos on it as well?
Yeah, it became my daily driver. So I used it for work. I used it for editing. I used it for a while for streaming. And then I used it for some gameplay.
Well, I may have to look for something like that because I need like stuff to take with me for like on the road for video content
Mhm.
making and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, since we're now talking about technology and making content on there, behind you, the way you have it like set up, it looks like it is a TV setup with like the mounted little lights there. Then of course you got the camera set up as well. From starting off when you were doing videos on your channel, from then till now, what have you seen like as the biggest improvement for your videos that you think anybody listening to this part of the video could say, if there's anything I could take to advice, I would use that for making videos?
I would say the biggest thing that improved over time was my audio.
Hmm.
I had really crappy audio in the beginning. From the get go, I had pretty decent lighting because that was one of the things my wife said. She's like, "If you're going to do this, at least make it look good and get lights."
Hmm.
And I was like, "Okay, yes, dear." But yeah, so I've always had like some sort of lighting set up. I've had these particular lights now for a few years, and they were great. But I immediately started with because I fell into the trap that most new content creators do. Is I was like, well, I got to get a camera.
Mhm.
So went and got a camera, and it was the Canon Rebel T6i Creator Kit. So it came with a little shotgun mic on it and all that stuff, and the audio was absolutely abysmal because the audio driver inside of the camera is a piece of junk. That's
Mhm.
actually the camera you can see right here.
Oh, yeah, right next to
But
there, yeah.
up until like a month and a half or so ago, that was the camera I used to do all of my videos. Um, and great camera, terrible audio driver, had awful, awful audio coming through, bad quality. And so eventually I ended up upgrading to a powered shotgun mic.
Oh,
And
nice.
that was a lot better because it had its own driver in it. So I didn't have to
Mm.
rely on the cameras anymore. And that was a huge step up in audio. And then I kept wanting to get something like a lapel mic or something like that to make it a little bit easier when I was moving around and doing stuff.
Mhm.
But every lapel mic I found to me sounded like garbage. And that was until about a year or so ago. I picked up the DJI mic. Yeah, it would have been short. It was June last year. Because I remember I was talking with Caleb from Phoenix Resale,
Mhm.
and he had the mic there, and he was like hooking it up and everything. I'm like, wait, what the hell is that thing? And he's like, oh, dude, it's the new DJI mic. I just picked it up. This thing is amazing, and he sold it on me instantly.
Oh, nice.
And I went and ordered one, and I started only using it when I was out and about. But then when I upgraded my whole camera setup to the rigs and everything you see back there, I decided, you know what, I'm going all in on this one audio source, and that's what I use on all my videos now is my DJI mic.
Yeah, that's the thing that I see a lot of people doing, even Gamer Aimer. There's like portable mics that you can like hook up to like a cell phone, like just plugging right into
Mhm.
the what is it, the charge port, and then they
Mhm.
just use that to record like really good shotgun mic quality audio just on I think it was like a $300 budget. And
Exactly.
yeah, has there been one piece of tech that you would use for your videos that you don't have on you right now that you see as potential for being a best way to be able to produce like really good video or content, excuse me.
Not really. It's
Mhm.
kind of hard to think of something, mainly because about a month ago I just made a huge overhaul and upgrade to everything. Um, so it's hard to think of something else that I could use right now.
Mhm.
Um, just because of current capabilities that I can do, there's going to be a fun video that I'm going to be doing with Jay over at Square Pegs, just because we have the capability of doing it.
Mhm.
That's the only hint that you're going to get is there's going to be a ridiculous over the top video, um, and it's just because we can. So we just want to. But I mean, it's not. I pretty much have everything that I want or need right now. I mean, sure, there's always better cameras and things like that,
Mhm.
but the new cameras that I just got are way higher quality than what I had before, and they give me a lot more control with what I'm doing. That way, I can go in and do like color correcting and stuff like that now. And then I got my big overhead rig, so I have a dedicated top-down camera now. Um, my lighting has been more than sufficient for what I need. I mean, I guess if I had to pick something, maybe another like a couple more field monitors. So
Mhm.
on my main like head-on rig, I have a big field monitor on there. That way, I'm not staring at a tiny screen. I can stare at an actual big screen. So if I had one for my top down and then another one for my side angle, then I mean it makes life a little easier,
Mhm.
but it's totally unnecessary.
Really don't know what else to question about for the video content process, but I guess actually no, there actually is one other thing. Whenever you think of like a video idea for the channel, I have to assume that you do have like a specific way that you go about trying to produce a video. Like, let's say, for example, you do one unboxing like the first week, and then the next week you're at a convention just doing a look around at booths, and then there's another one where you're interacting with a bunch of other YouTubers online. Is there like a certain motive to the madness, or are you just do like everything on a whim without any sort of like particular order out there?
Typically, like there isn't like a hard and fast rule that I follow for myself.
Mhm.
It's I have my list of ideas, and then I create buckets of ideas. So, like in a bucket, it'll be a bunch of videos all surrounding that same similar idea. So, my most recent video that I just released was the 5 Xbox games that still hold up.
Mhm.
So that's a new bucket that I created. So as you can see, I have tons of different consoles of games. So that's going to be, 5X games that still hold up. So
Mhm.
that'll be a whole series of videos that I'll be able to do. And when I do something like that, when I have like a bucket that I want to work on or a few random videos sprinkled throughout, I'll just try to do it so that there aren't the same kind of video one after the other. So if I have an unboxing, unless I'm like super strapped for time or I just have an abundance of them, uh, if I do one unboxing, I won't do another unboxing that week. Or what I'll try to do is at least wait a couple of weeks and put some different content in there just so there's a good variety. So it's not hard and fast rules. It's just mainly trying to get in there and uh, keep it interesting and keep it fresh. And then when it's like anytime it's a con video, something like that, it's typically going to be the same kind of style. Um, I'll go through and there'll be footage of me game hunting. It'll be like a big game hunt video, basically,
Mhm.
just with extra stuff at the con all sprinkled throughout. Um, I am actually taking my next con video will be a lot different than previous con videos. So my next one it'll be for MGC 2024 for Midwest Gaming Classic.
Mhm.
But I am currently taking a filmmaking class. And one of the things you have to do in a filmmaking class is you have to have a film for a final project.
Mhm.
So I pitched the idea of doing a con video and kind of like laid out what I wanted to do for it. And the teacher stoked. He's just like, yes, do that. So this next con video will actually it will have more of a storytelling element to it with some really like key things and specific camera angles to meet the requirements of the assignment, stuff like that. So that one will actually have a lot of planning going into it, where normally I am much better at just winging it. I like I've tried doing scripted videos and they bomb because it's just they're awful.
Mhm.
I can't do scripts. If somebody else wants to write a script and make engaging content, that's great. I can't do that. I am much better just like off the cuff. I'll have like bullet points for ideas for videos, but that is about it. I won't go beyond bullet points because it's more like, oh, okay, I wanted to talk about that, and then I'll just riff on that.
It's funny that you mentioned about scripted videos being tough to produce for. Uh, One of the series I work on is Uncommon Valley, and I also have like trouble at times trying to get scripts out for that because you're always trying to think of like not repeated like words in like one sentence going into like the other. But what have you ever thought about like getting somebody else to help with that at times? Because I know like sometimes certain people that usually have like a general idea for a script, but they don't know how to go about producing it. And then they hire somebody from like let's say Fiverr and just produce it for them. Has that been an idea for you, or is it just something you hadn't really wanted to mess about with?
Scripting, no,
Hmm.
just because the problem that I get is I get a little OCD about it. Not so much in the like, oh, I can't have anybody else do it. Like, I don't care about that. It's if there is a script in front of me, my brain immediately says, that's the way it's supposed to be done. I can't do anything different.
Hmm.
And if I don't do it exactly as it's written, then it just bugs the crap out of me.
I gotcha.
So it just like, it messes with my brain if I'm reading from a script. And it just comes off as like total like automaton robot and not good. It's better if I can add my own inflections and my own like natural like voice speak to it. It's like tell me what you want said, I'll figure out how I'm going to say it. So I never really went that way with scripting. Now, eventually, I would love to have an editor. I can't afford an editor, but I
Hmm.
would love to have an editor. I can't stand editing. I could film 20 videos a day, but then I know that I would have to edit 20 videos a day,
Hmm.
and that sounds gross.
Yeah, that's always the problem when it comes to making these, and I think a lot of people don't seem to understand. Because with this channel, I do all of the like producing and like editing and just getting it out all by myself without like anyone's help. But it's just something that a lot of us have to deal with on YouTube. Is like, yeah, we don't have the resources to be able to fund for editors or script writers, and it's just we have to make do with what we're given. But
Yep.
yeah, I guess the only other thing I was going to ask about channel related stuff, there was always probably something that you've wanted to make for the longest time, but you've had it in like the back of your mind, but you've never had a proper way of being able to make the video. So I guess like what exactly would you want to make if you had I guess like maybe unlimited resources or just like unlimited time? What exactly would you make?
I think it would be cool to do like a documentary style video.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Like it was the whole reason why I started the channel is because like something that I say a lot is I know a lot of random crap about a lot of random crap. Um, and with gaming, it's the same thing. It was kind of funny. I did I got the video game magazine. They did the trading card thing.
Mhm.
And on there, it was funny because never once have I ever referred to myself as this, but instead of being on there as like, content creator or anything like that, it said that I was a gaming historian. Not that I was the gaming historian, not that I'm Norm, but it put
Seriously.
on there that like that's what I was getting the card for, that I'm a gaming historian. And I was just like, are you sure? I am. uh, so I was just kind of like, okay, well, yeah. I mean, I guess I know a lot of things. I mean, I've never considered myself a historian or a keeper of the facts,
Mhm.
but I think it would be cool to do a documentary style thing, like on the level of Norm or my buddy John from Biddy Kong's Quest. A
Mhm.
lot of his videos, he does like documentary style stuff, and I would definitely need unlimited time and budget to do it at the level that those guys do it because it's insane. Like John did a video on the analog NT Mini Noir,
Mhm.
and it was just so precise and just so good. It was just such a good video. And being able to make something like that, I think that would be really cool. And in order to add like my own personal flair and like story to it, if I were to do one, it would be on, let's see if I can point to it, that guy right there.
Oh, the Vectrix. Nice.
The Vectrex right in the
Mhm.
back. Because I don't know what it is, but for the longest time, my holy grail item that I always wanted to get was a Vectrex. And like 3, 4 years ago now is when I finally got one.
Excellent.
So a
Yeah.
deep dive documentary on the Vectrex, I think that would be really cool. And personally, I think it would be interesting. But
Yeah, there
yeah,
isn't a lot of people that have made video content on that console, and yeah, I think that's a personal one I'm still on the lookout for, but they have gotten so expensive over the years that it's just I kind of regret not getting it like a few years back when I got my CDX.
yeah, it was funny. The vendor that I bought it from, because I bought it at Midwest Gaming Classic. It was my first time there. So yeah, I think it was 3 years ago.
Hmm.
And the dude that I bought it from, to help ease the pain afterwards, he poured me a shot of Patron. And what's funny is that's kind of become our running thing because I see him at conventions all the time now. So anytime I see him and I always do shots. Like I don't drink, uh, basically ever. Like I might have a beer,
Mhm.
but whenever I see David, it's like, well, we got to do a shot, man. Let's go. So it's just kind of a fun running thing now. But that was in that convention video. I go over the whole saga of trying to get that thing home, and it was a saga. And then it was funny because that was the first time I had met John Lester,
Mhm.
Games 31, and he was so invested in the story of me being able to get that home He's like, "Let me know when you get home. I have to know if this thing made it home okay." So him and I were talking afterwards and had a good laugh about it.
Since you brought up John, met him for the first time in person at, I think it was Korg's, like in 2021. The guy is a giant. Like, he's
Yeah,
literally Lou Ferrigno of like the retro gaming community, and
yeah,
you don't really expect like a lot of tall people in this community, but it's insane like how tall, even like John Riggs, like
hmm
as tall as that man is. But it's
yeah.
insane to see that.
Yeah, Riggs, Lester, myself, Jason, Metal Jesus. Yeah, we're all basically the same height and all big dudes. But I'm telling you, man, John Lester, that dude's handshake, oh, he has the biggest hands of anyone I have ever met. That dude, he hugs your hand when he shakes it.
It's literally Andre the Giant size hands, because it's like it just
And
outsizes
equally
like
as
your own.
nice. He is the nicest dude. I have never met a nicer person in like retro gaming than John Lester. That dude is so cool.
Yeah, and I think like yeah, during the early what is it, the early frontier of like how content creating was back then, you never came across a channel like John's because he would always show off like different consoles. Like, I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was something on the ColecoVision that he was talking about, and I learned a lot from that. Was that like when you were watching video content, did you learn the same thing from his, or was it just like some other videos that he put out at the time?
So I actually, until about probably 2017, until about a year before I made my channel, I
Hmm.
really didn't watch YouTube. And I was just like, I don't get it. Why are people watching this? Like, I'd rather go watch TV. I'd
Hmm.
rather go see a movie. Like, I didn't understand. I was like, why do people want to watch random people on the internet? That's weird. That's like with Twitch and everything. It's just like, wouldn't you rather just play the game? Why do you want to
Hmm.
watch somebody else play the game? I mean, I get it now,
Yeah.
but back then I was just like, I don't understand why people are doing this.
Hmm.
And I don't remember what video would have gotten me into actually starting to watch YouTube, but one of the first people that I saw on there was Jason, Metal Jesus.
Hmm.
And it was like one of his crew videos. So it had a bunch of other people on there, and then eventually saw Riggs on there, and then I started watching Riggs content because for me it was more interesting seeing like the repair and mod side of things.
Hmm.
So started watching his stuff, and then um, ended up becoming a Patreon member. Then joined his Discord, ended up running his Discord. And then now there's a group of us that have been in a chat now for years, and now I'm friends with all those people.
Hmm.
So it's weird how it all develops, but yeah, now I'm friends with them. I hang out with them, go to cons, like all that stuff. But I never like Gamester 81 and like a bunch of the other like OG people. I never even watched them back in the day. I have only since started watching them in probably about like the last 4 years.
Hmm.
So any of their original content, I never saw it. Like unless it comes up under a recommended or something like that, which most of the time it doesn't. It's all their newer content that comes up. So yeah, I never watched any of the old stuff. I didn't know who any of these people were until I started going to cons with my first one, which was PRGE in 2019. It was either
Wow.
2018 or 2019.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
I've never been to Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and that was one for the longest time, even during Game Chasers when they were first starting out. It was essentially like the go-to retro gaming con of like North America. And aside from like Southeast Game Exchange and Midwest Gaming Classic and Retropalooza, it was that convention that you heard a lot of people
yeah,
recommend. But who knows? Maybe one day I'll be able to go to it and pretty much, I don't know, complete off my checklist. But
yeah. This past year was the first year that I didn't go because I had work stuff going on. So it was the first time that I didn't go since I started going to conventions.
okay.
But yeah, MGC since my first one, I go every single year, and now I only live a few hours away, so I can just drive there. But yeah, that one, that Like, I love conventions, and I love all the conventions that I've been to. They've all been super fun, and
Mhm.
they all have their own things to offer. MGC, man, that thing is just on another level, and like multiple levels because it's so freaking huge.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try to see about making it out. Like I said, money's been tight on my end, so that may change after taxes get taken care of, which I'm working on that stuff right now.
Fingers
But
crossed. Yeah, I
yeah.
sent my accountant all of my tax stuff today. So,
That's the terrible troubles of being an adult in a video gaming world. But um, that's pretty much the interview for the most part. Game Dad show, or just Game Dad. Thank you for finally being on. We were able to get this knocked out. I know you want to be a part of console conflict, and we're getting that back up again. How confident is your gaming knowledge?
well, I mean, I am branded as a historian, so
And
I was
not just a
watching some of the
regular
previous
label.
ones, and I was just like, I know the answer to that. I know the answer to that. I know the answer to that. And then there was a couple where it's just like, I do not know the answer to that.
Well, we try to make it as challenging as possible, and anybody else that's been on the show already knows exactly how it goes. But that's pretty much the interview. For anybody who is watching or listening to this right now, you can follow this man. Actually, I'm trying to look over here because this is a new setup. If you hadn't recognized it, the bed's not behind me anymore. But you can follow this man over on the YouTube at youtube.com/Game Dad Show. Or you can follow him on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. I don't know if you're on there yet, but I would assume you would have the same name as well.
Yep,
But
yeah.
yeah.
Twitter or X, whatever it's called now. Yeah, Instagram,
Hmm.
Facebook, TikTok. Yeah, basically all the popular ones except Snapchat. I don't get Snapchat. So
Yeah, there's like people that get Snapchat just because their youngest nephew or their nieces and or their kids use it a lot of time. I still don't get it, but it's there for work. But uh Game Dad Show, Deb, I don't know why I just said that, but Game Dad Show. Thank you again for being on the show for Select Screen. Yeah, we'll definitely have to get you back on when you finally break the 10,000 mark.
that would be awesome. Yeah.
All right. Well, once again, thank you very much for being on the show. It was a pleasure to have you on, man.
Thanks, man.